Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Talking Mode. My name is Sarah, and alongside with me is Caroline.
Hi guys, us back again with a new episode, and this time we will discuss all about food as well as the different techniques and utensil and the seasoning and all the things relating to food between the eastern and the western regions. Yeah.
Oh, so it's gonna be like one of those foodie kind of podcasts.
Yeah, I hope.
Okay, so basically, and like Caroline says, we are going to talk about some of the differences between between Eastern and Western cuisines. So bear in mind that we are only basing our opinions on the food that we have eaten and just some of the contrast ideas, not totally like everything, like all the like anywhere. So if we are accidentally creates any kind of stereotypes, don't take it personally. We just want to, create a fun and friendly environment just to talk about food. So let's get started. Okay, so for the first part of today's episode, we are going to talk about some of the differences that we think that are most clearly from observers of, both from the East and the West. So first, Caroline, what do you think? Do we differ in the ways that we use utensils?
Yeah, obviously. So in the East, where we live, mostly Asian countries in general, we use chopsticks to eat, and we don't typically use forks that much, is except from informal dinings and formal events. But other than that, our main means to eat food are chopsticks and sometimes spoons as well. But we mainly use chopstick. But in the Western countries, they use forks and spoons, wooden spoon, all different kinds of spoon, and they don't ever touch or use chopsticks. Even when they eat Asian food like dumplings and even other dishes, they just use fork. And I find that quite interesting. I do know the habits that we use to eat food can hardly be changed. So I understand that why Western people refuse to use chopsticks, maybe because they find it difficult, because it is indeed difficult. If you think about it, if I were to be born in a Western country, never touch or never use a pair of chopstick, then I would be like them too. At the same time, some people take it so personally that they may think that is a sign of your insult to the cuisine, but I don't think the story is that. So yeah, that's maybe the main difference, I think, in the way we use utensils and the surrounding beliefs around that topic.
Yes. So do you think that when you were a child, your parents have to train you to use the chopsticks, so that you don't abuse other kinds of utensils? Because I feel like in every Asian households, parents tend to want to kind of chopstick train their children, and so on movies I find the same similarities. Kind of in Western household, they train their child to use knife. I think knife, it's not something that we kind of talk about between the East and the West, but somehow there has been case when people tend to mock Asians not knowing how to use knife and fork to just cut steak. So yeah, that's one thing I find. So yeah, basically, I find that there's no utensils is better than the other. Just there's a mix of culture and whether we think which one is suitable for different kinds of dish. Next, we're going to talk about one of the main aspects, the difference in terms of seasonings. So for me, as I'm from Vietnam, and basically from my experience, I've tasted a lot of Chinese cuisine. I feel like the seasonings, it's very kind of strong. They tend to have different layers of seasoning. It's kind of like builds up in your mouth, you know? For example, when you have curry, which is very famous for its spices, and there are all sorts of seasonings in it, bay leaves, coriander, cumin, coconut, and so everything just builds up in your mouth. Whilst like with Western dishes, you can see that it's more like they kind of tend to create a complementary flavor. Say you have sour cream with onions, kind of like sounds contrast, but at the same time, it's very helps rise one the other ingredients.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, so let's put it like this. So like in the East, I typically see that we try to, you know, contain all the flavors within one dish, but then in the West, they tend to, you know, try to bring out the best flavor of each dishes, and they have multiple dishes rather than just one like us. And so like that kind of explains the difference in the menus and the layout. So you know, in the West, they eat food like in different courses and in very tiny and small portions, and there are just more dishes and more food, I think, compared to our culture, because like on our table we typically see, you know, one protein dish and then vegetable and then, you know, rice and stuff. So there's not that much of a variety on our table. So hence we, but like each of our dish then contains, you know, a rich flavor, like you said, like built in layers, and they're very rich and deep. But that doesn't mean like the Western way isn't, you know, rich or something. They just have different approach when it comes to the way they season and the way they cook their food. And I still think that both ways are, you know, suitable for each special occasion. But yeah, that's the main difference we see in the way each of the region kind of season their food.
Yeah, I agree with you totally. Like, I feel like I like the point when you make about Western food. They want to bring out the flavors in the ingredients itself rather than adding too much, you know, spices to, you know, double the layer or triple the layer. So yeah, that's one thing. Each of them both had their specialties, right? And the unique flavors.
So next we will talk about the way people eat, like in the different regions, or table manners, in my opinion, like the etiquettes conducted during a meal. So the main difference I see between the two cultures is, you know, in Eastern, we are known for sharing our dishes together, like with other members of the family or with other strangers sometimes. Well, when it comes to the Western side, they typically have their own individual dishes, and they kind of typically don't like sharing their dish with anyone else, like even if that is their one of their family members. So I find that quite interesting, because like I really don't know where this kind of mindset come from. Maybe stems from the collectivism and individualism concept we discussed previously, like in the previous episode. But yeah, that's the main difference. And I think like this is the biggest culture shock when like Asian people or visit other countries, or vice versa, when foreigners visit Asian countries. They tend to, you know, have this kind of culture shock. I think that if, you know, Asian people, we come to other foreign country, we kind of adapt to this mentality more easier than when a foreigner come to our countries, right? I think that's quite interesting. So yeah, what do you think?
So I think that there's like two reasons for this. First, it's being, like you said, collectivism and individualism, right? In the way, because that results in the way that they pay for their meal, right? So you can see that mostly in the West, they have this when you, even if you're going out with your friends, your best friends, your family, you just pay for your, you know, fair and square. No, not like your friends gonna, you know, take it on the house or something. You're just gonna have to pay for your meal, even if you're eating with someone else. So that is really hard for when you're sharing, because when you share, you basically don't know how to divide that up. And so
Yeah.
secondly, so in the East, we we tend to, one person pays for all, and so yeah, it's kind of like Joe, just eat a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and kind of share so that we can eat, the most of it. So, and the second part, the second reasons I think it's because for in the West, people they usually for, say formal dining, they have like 3 course, like a full set of meal. Like they have the first course, the main course, and then the dessert. Each of them is like separate. And here in the East, we actually order based on like nutrition. I don't know, like kind of like there are some values when in the East we tend to always include rice or any substitute, right? Say noodles or anything that's made of gluten. But that doesn't happen in the West. So I guess that somehow it's kind of influenced the way that we eat. And then, yeah. Do you think that because of this pandemic, we will not be, sharing our food, and we're kind of tending toward like in the West because each of us has our own dish to ourselves because of the hygienes and any health related issues?
Like I think even with a pandemic, I don't think like the deep rooted belief of ours can change that easily. Of course, like when you go out to eat dinner somewhere except from your house, then you would obviously be, more mindful about the food on the table. But we will still share. I still think that it's okay, and like it's even weird if we don't share. Then yeah.
Personally, I can prefer sharing because I get to eat a little bit of something,
Everything. Yeah.
everything a little bit, and then you don't have to. I mean, you can still pay for your meal, right? Just like what we did when we hang out, a few months ago. We just kind of divide the bill up into say
Yeah,
four.
I was about to say that it's very interesting that we, even though we share dishes, we pay individually. And then that makes the the counting and the
So like
calculating
basically
hard.
we have like the best of both worlds, right? We pay for our meals, but also
Maybe, but like maybe like sometimes we went overboard and okay.
right. So next we are going to talk about the difference in terms expectation versus reality. So this is more like on media and food, in a sense. So Caroline, what do you like based on your experience and based on your own experience and being a foodie yourself or like just liking food, what do you think the media has shaped the food industry in what ways?
The biggest trend that I see in which the media shapes the way we eat and the way we choose our food, and even the way we kind of alter our menus accordingly to what the media perceives, is the trends about the expectation and reality of the food in the different regions of the world. So there are all these aesthetic photos and aesthetic clips and what I eat in a day videos about how people are trying to stay healthy, how people are making their foods in other parts of the world and Vietnam as well. And the problem and the main characteristic of those images and videos is that they are very aesthetically pleasing. They are very well edited. They're very well photoshopped in a sense that we don't typically see the real color of the food, because they have a preset or the color fixing of something. You cannot really determine if the food is that tasty. And also, even if the food is tasty, then but the taste is different for everyone, right? So maybe someone says that dish is delicious to them doesn't mean that it's delicious to you, to us, to someone else as well. But some of us, because of the aesthetically pleasing pictures and videos, we tend to kind of think that those aesthetically pleasing foods are also delicious well, but we forget the part that they may be not for us in terms of our taste and our appetite. And so when the reality hits, then we kind of get shocked a bit, because I heard some Vietnamese people, when they travel or even when they study abroad to foreign countries, they report that the food there isn't that spectacular, like depicted on photos and videos, and rather they find, the food quite difficult to eat and difficult to consume, especially 24/7. And even if there are some Vietnamese stores in foreign countries, the flavors are not the same. When you eat Vietnamese food in America, it's different when you eat Vietnamese food in Vietnam. So and so also because they are used to the way it is cooked in Vietnam, the different spices and different flavors, like we discussed earlier, it's very difficult for them to get used to that kind of shock in terms of seasoning, in terms of table manners, even in terms of everything. And so I think that's one of the disadvantages of the food that the food industry places on us. But that's not totally their fault, because that's their job to kind of market the food to look beautiful so that to sell products. But I do think like people can be more honest and more vulnerable with their food experience, because this kind of mismatch of appetite and preference can lead to disorders like this eating disorder for some people. So yeah, I think that's one of the main kind of influence of the media on our food.
Right. Yeah, totally. I think that what you mentioned about, basically we kind of self-validate what we think that is good and what we actually taste, what it actually tastes. And so I think that for me, I don't find any reasons I would do that, because I'm very straightforward with basically what I'm tasting, what is there in my mouth. But I think that is called, like, sometimes we have this thing when we eat with our eyes, like we just
Yes,
eat it with
obviously.
our eyes. We kind of like the visuals, the very beautiful visuals, and of a food or for this, it makes us mouth watering, and it's kind of like it creates this kind of digital satiation when we just looking at pictures and we just want to eat it up. And yeah, I think that's totally normal, because it kind of like it tricks our brains into because of all that glorious color and the cheese, and it's just very, very it kind of makes us want to eat it. And I don't know, even though it's not there, it's not real, but kind of picture it. And so I think that while there's hardly any harm, because even us have to accept the fact that there's the difference in culture, and so there's difference in cuisine, but somehow I think that it's kind of like helps us to wanting to experience new thing. So without those, we kind of not really open ourselves to eat it, because that's one way to promote the cuisines of one's nation, right?
Yes.
Right. So basically that's a wrap of today's video, don't you think?
Yeah, okay. That should be fine.
So I believe that maybe after this pandemic we could have like videos, like, or maybe many videos of us baking and cooking some of the cuisines, like our favorite cuisines of the world. You think
of Vietnam first, or of the world? I don't know.
Because I'm not really, because the idea of online baking doesn't really appeal to me.
Yeah. Like, and also I don't have that skill to bake and kind of keep track of the time. I'm very bad at that, especially when it comes to cooking. But anyway.
Okay, so we hope you enjoyed the video. Now stay tuned, stay safe, and
stay awesome.
Bye.
Bye.